To felicitate Rajesh sir first, who's going to drive the conversation, and then also request Architect Sanjay Dasgaonkar to join on stage to felicitate both our speakers of this evening in the Baatchit event. So,
I think we can skip.
no. It's a must. It's a must. It's
Family, I don't think
no. It's to acknowledge your effort that you have put into getting this Baatchit curated. So I'll request the volunteers to bring in a bouquet for Rajesh sir. Right. President AESA, Parag Lakreji, to felicitate. Right. Thank you. I'm sure everybody knows Architect Rajiv Raze, but he's been, I think, one of the omnipresent figures of education, architecture, interior design, prefabrication, and whatnot. I think he's been a guru for a lot of us here, and my direct inspiration to be associated with AESA. He was the one who made sure that I joined AESA years ago, and several other organizations as well. So I'll invite Rajesh sir to take his seat, and also now I invite Architect Vishwas Kulkarni on stage and Architect Rishikesh Kulkarni on stage. Father-son duo celebrating 50 years of practice. 50 is both huge and also just the start, I think, because the kind of work VK group is doing is phenomenal, and we are going to play a movie. I'm not going to do the typical reading of introduction of both of them. We're going to play a movie. It's quite interestingly made.
I'll do it after my interview.
Yeah, after Rajesh sir does the formal introduction. But I'm going to request Parag sir to felicitate both our speakers for this evening. Architect Vishwas Kulkarni, it's just a small token of gratitude for you from AESA. He's also the trustee of AESA, served AESA for the longest of times, but this is just a token of love from us that goes on his desk. And to Rishi as well, and he also has recently got elected on the IIA Pune Center's executive committee, and he's also part of our executive committee at AESA. So Rishikesh Kulkarni, who's taken the baton from Vishwas sir, Vishwas sir tells me, मला काही कामच करून देत नाही, it leaves no work for me to be done. So I am available. You tell me wherever you want me to come. So yes, welcome Rishi and welcome Vishwas sir, and let us hand it over to Rajesh sir to lead this conversation. And mind you, after the talk is done, we'll have a group photograph with volunteers and also the audience who wish to have photographs with our dignitaries on stage. And post which, of course, you have the chance to buy the books on sale outside and also have informal discussions. We have kept the snacks also outside later, just in case you feel hungry. Over to you, Rajesh sir, and waiting to listen to both of you.
Hello.
No, just switch off because we're syncing with this one. Yeah, that's right.
Well, welcome, Kulkarnis.
Thank you.
And I think this chat, Baatchit, coming after Apurva's book launch and the presentation that she made just now, is kind of extension of the same thing, I would say. And I think you will come to realize, Apurva, that this is one family that you missed in the first edition. Hopefully they'll come through in the second edition.
Thank you, Raja.
The thing is, this idea of having...
Short of one.
Oh, one. Okay.
Qualify.
Well, actually, this idea was floating in our minds for a very long time. That when we spoke about architectural practices in Pune particularly, we came to realize that there are more than a dozen such families who have this legacy and the continuity of the heritage of architectural profession. And it was quite interesting to find, in fact, we have, as I can see in our audience itself today, we have a few architects who have the second generation already joining them in practice, you know. So this idea was already there in our minds. But when it came to finally selecting as to who would be take up as for this kind of a Baatchit, it was fortunate that we had your book coming out on the same subject, and it was very, very fortunate that this issue about architectural heritage and the lineage that would continue can be taken up with Vishwas Kulkarni and Rishikesh Kulkarni. With your permission, I would like to skip most of the issues which Apurva has already discussed.
Yeah, certainly.
Sorry. But before that, I'd like to introduce to you these two father and son duo, because their firm, the VK Architects Group, as I would call it now, is probably one of the most unique architectural firms that you will find, particularly since many of our students are here. I can assure you that when you came for architecture you chose architecture as a vocation, you must have had some thing in your mind as to what you would like to be eventually. And believe me, there are a few role models in our profession right now. And let me tell you, I can say that architect Vishwas Kulkarni particularly is really a kind of a role model for young architects as to how you should practice, where you should take your practice, and how big you can grow. I'll just introduce to you architect Vishwas. Sorry. I've not been well, so. Vishwas Kulkarni. He's a graduate of JJ College of Architecture in 1971. He graduated in architecture. And in the course of his activities in the college, which I'm going to ask him something about a little later on, he did what you've been doing with architectural families, but he did with a lot of very renowned architects also. Probably they have been an inspiration to you at that point of time, but we'll talk about it. After graduation, he worked with architect Charles Correa in Mumbai, and he gained proficiency in architectural designing, and he's a master of sketching in architecture. He started his professional practice as VKA Architecture in 1973 in Pune, and has had since then a 50 years long, a highly successful run of architectural practice, doing various kinds of projects, from institutional projects, residential, commercial, and some very notable ones also, and some very unique projects also. I won't go into the list now because the list is too long, so you can imagine what must have happened in the course of 50 years or so. But the list of actually executed projects is so long that he had a lot many left over, and has recently published a book on his unbuilt projects also. So you can imagine how many projects he must have worked on, the firm must have worked on in the last 50 years. The book, Unbuilt Projects, is also outside for you to see and buy. It's a multidisciplinary incorporation of various disciplines was brought in 2008 when he introduced VKE, which is Vishwas Kulkarni Environment, then VKI, which was Vishwas Kulkarni Interiors, and VKU, which was Vishwas Kulkarni Urban Designs.
Just sorry to interrupt you, but this all was introduced by him.
Okay, well, it'll obviously happen, but then 2008 you were also there.
Yeah, I'm still there.
Yeah, obviously. But then I think recently they have gone beyond the boundaries of our country and have started executing projects, taking up projects abroad also. So I'm sure there's going to be soon a VKO, which is VK Overseas, if I might say so, in collaboration with international firms like IMPI and Norman Foster. So you can imagine that an architecture can spread his wings and fly, not just in a local context, not just in a national context, but he can go in a global context also. So Vishwas Kulkarni, as a personal friend, as a friend of his family, I would say, is very active in civic, social, and professional activities. He's been a patron member and a past president of AESA itself. He's now a trustee of the Architects, Engineers, and Surveyors Association. He has been a member of the Indian Institute of Architects, the Indian Green Building Council, the International Center, and Sustainability Initiatives, which is an NGO he started, which has been started with Rishikesh when he joined him. It's a trust for policy and advocacy which has been running. VK was a pioneer, sorry for calling you VK, but then it's, I think it should go amongst friends. He's a pioneer in establishment of an All India Employed Architects Union for Architects in Service, which is something extremely unique and which you must not have ever heard of also. It's an organization which is dormant at the present, but he wishes to revive it again. But think about it, that the employees in architectural offices also had to come together to, get their rights, kind of. So today the VK group, Vishwas Kulkarni group, is perhaps the largest architecture in Pune with over 300 employed architects. So you can imagine that architectural practice takes on a very big form in this thing. To continue with Rishikesh now, the second generation, the father and son pair, has taken this organization places. Rishikesh graduated in architecture from the academy in Mumbai. He took his master's qualification in environment and energy from the prestigious Architectural Association in London in 2003. He's also qualified as an assessor for BREEAM, which is the Building Research Establishment Environmental Assessment Methodology, a green building initiative. Worked with a British firm on large projects in UK and Europe, and lectured at the London Metropolitan University also. In 2007, he formed, actually the VKO, I guess, was already there when he formed VK Open and Open Arch as collaborative companies and joined the VK group in India. His expertise in environment and energy makes him a specialist in sustainability and green building design. He is a director and partner in the VK group of companies, a trustee on the NGO sustainability initiatives. Active in many social, civic and professional organizations like AESA, IIA, IGBC, Fire Safety Association of India. He's also been an advisor to the CREDAI, which is the Promoter Builders Association. Rishikesh has initiated international collaborations, and the VK group is now involved in many overseas projects. The subsidiaries in this group, VK Environment, is ably supported by directors Dr. Purva Keskar and architect Anaga Purohit, who incidentally are ex-faculty of the BNCA also. And they are both members of AESA also. And VKU Urban Design is led by architect planner Vijay Sane and supported by architect Dvaipayan Chakravarti, who is here today with his wife Apurva. And Mrs. Apurva Kulkarni, incidentally, spouse of Rishikesh, is also an active component of the VK group, and she looks after the business aspects of the group. So you can see, as a family, they're already all deeply into a similar kind of activity. On behalf of AESA, we would like to congratulate the VK group and both of you, and wish you a very, very happy Golden Jubilee in 2023. Thank you. I'll just run a small film which will give you an idea as to what the VK group is doing before we get into a little bit of question answers afterwards.
This film is a bit old, about 4 years old.
No,
5 years old film.
It's quite okay. You'll be able to see that. Sound है ना? बस थोड़ा वेरी शुरू नाही इथे इथे म्युझिक आहे मागे नाही विनायक कुठे just a moment, there's some problem with the sound. आत्न करायला नाही नाही इट्स ओके आहे इथेच निघाले का पुढे? मिनिमाइज करू? ओके.
Innumerable possibilities.
काल.
And it has been 46 years that we have been doing this. Yet, whenever a new project comes in, we are amused by the incredible world of architecture. The terrains, the territories, the innumerable possibilities, and the impact it will make on the people who will use the space have always fascinated us.
With so much to explore, I feel we play multiple roles at the same time. We believe in the power of movement and fluidity.
We aspire to instill life in our clients' dreams. This makes us push our boundaries and come out with designs which are intricate and coherent, just like nature.
And then we realize we are just humans engaged in the business of designing the future.
A future that is beautiful, optimistic, and sustainable.
A future that is an ecosystem in itself, one that is designed for perfection.
In all these years, the most important aspect of our offerings has been the design.
And that's what distinguishes us. We are VK Group and we are better by design.
We are a dynamic team of 100 plus qualified architects, urban designers, environmental engineers, planners, landscape architects, civil engineers, valuers, interior designers, and licensing experts.
At VK Group, multiple expertise collaborate under one single roof. Together, we are engaged in designing and delivering transformative urbanism.
Our collaborative practice of delivering solutions has a larger impact, not just on the individuals and the community, but most importantly on the environment.
Form to function and purpose to practice, the set of expertise that we offer under one roof has helped us to deliver some of the most well-known projects.
Our practice is built on the key guiding principles. It is the confluence of a unique set of talent that has a deep understanding of what they do. How can they nurture the relationship with different stakeholders and an uncompromising attitude towards being ethical and true to our work.
Our designs and projects have been very well appreciated. In fact, we have designed the first platinum rated building in Maharashtra, and it has won the best environmental friendly project of that year.
We are proud to be the first ISO 9001-2015 certified architectural practice in India.
More than 1 million of people live, work and play in hundreds of sustainable communities we have designed across India. From Maharashtra, Gujarat to Mizoram, Nagaland, and from Delhi, Chhattisgarh down to Karnataka and Kerala. Now, we are further spreading our wings by providing comprehensive services to our esteemed clients in the Middle East as well.
Sustainable living and carbon emission reduction has now become the buzzword that we all hear. We are really proud to have designed more than 3 million square meters of green projects.
The architectural arm of the group has designed projects that are now a landmark in their own right. Be it residential, commercial or institutional, we stay beyond the boundaries of being architects and associate as a consulting partner, wherein we steer the project to its successful culmination.
At VKA Architecture, we believe as architects, we bring the past, present and the future together to generate innovative designs. Our teams work closely through all stages with clients, starting with feasibility, then architectural design, full statutory approvals and compliance, detailed construction documentation, supervision during construction up to final completion of the project. Our teams are fully capable and empowered to take the client through this whole journey.
At VKE Environmental, we harmonize between design, technology and the environment. Whether we are preserving the natural habitat on the land, or saving energy and water in our buildings, or maintaining a healthy indoor environment, environment first is our approach in all our projects.
As city dwellers, our connection to the buildings we live in and work in is immensely deep. These buildings have a large impact on our lives too. As environment consultants, we assess this impact and try to find a meaningful relationship beyond just the brick, mortar, steel and concrete.
VKE focuses on designing green buildings and of course taking care of the environment throughout the entire life cycle of a construction project. We start looking into sustainable site planning, water efficiency and management, energy efficiency and renewable energy, waste management, appropriate and sustainable building materials, indoor environmental quality, and of course, innovation. We further look into building operations and maintenance to keep the project green.
VKI Interiors is our interior design team which creates exciting and functional designs which complement our architectural design. Be it for commercial, office spaces, retail outlets, healthcare institutes or educational institutes, we create functional and delightful spaces.
VKU Urban believes in people-centric urbanism, touching lives for the better. The team works on designing sustainable solutions, making our cities smart and livable.
Our primary objective here is to create places for people to interact with each other with the city as a canvas. Our work mainly consists of urban design, urban planning, regional planning and guidelines, integrated master planning of townships, urban renewal and redevelopment, transit-oriented development and riverfront development.
Sustainability initiatives is our way of giving back to the society. It is an attempt to create and raise awareness about our surroundings through knowledge sharing.
At SI, we get involved in the areas of research, capacity building, public outreach, advocacy and publications, which is meant to add to the knowledge of the people involved in the construction industry, policymakers, students and the public at large.
At VK, we love managing complexities.
We love exploring new territories.
We establish connectivity.
We take calculated risks.
We push boundaries.
We give back to the society.
We sustain our relationship with nature.
We are obsessed with innovation.
And we'll keep getting better at it.
We are better by design.
So I think that must have given you an idea of the activities of the VK group. And since there are so many multifunctional, multifarious activities, I thought it would be best to show the film itself to kind of cover that. Coming to a few questions.
Yeah, surely.
So far as this long journey of 50 years is concerned, I'd like to start with you, VK sir.
Okay.
Can you briefly narrate this 50 years journey in architecture, starting from your early college days in JJ School of Architecture?
Okay. I will try and do that. I don't know. I can fully give a justification to it or not. But can you hear me, all of you? Yeah. So I started my practice in Pune in 1973 when it was only me and Pune.
Sir, I'd like you to go back beyond that to your college days in Bombay.
Okay. When I was in the college, I was magazine secretary in the college. And I scored first class. And Charles Korea has given me awards in my college days. And after passing out, I went to him. And then he was coming as a consulting to LIC. So he sent me to LIC. Then we worked on investment complex of LIC in Delhi, which is in Garrett Place. And then we worked on I think investment complex in Bangalore. and Borivali Housing in Mumbai. Okay, these were the projects handled by Charles Corey at that time.
But I think as a student activist, you had an opportunity to interview a lot of architects also.
Yeah. As a magazine secretary, I interviewed all the leading architects at that time,
Such
including Pilu Modi.
Oh,
Pilu Modi, who was the MP of
First MP
स्वतंत्र पार्टी होती तेव्हा आणि तो MP तो होता and he was instrumental to the Architects Act of 1972. He formed the act, okay. So he initiated all the proceedings earlier, and before the act I interviewed him.
Oh.
And I mean, he was a very fat fellow, and I mean, couldn't be accommodated in one chair. I went to his office, and he had some, I think, some foreigner as his wife, and you know, he was the architect that time, and he said, "You interview me, I will say, tell you, and you write."
Oh.
So from there, I got to write something about architecture.
Incidentally, Pilu Modi was the person.
Incidentally, then I interviewed Charles Corey also and many other architects, so Raja Puridi and S.H. Godbole that time, and Patki Rajdan, Marat Patki Rajdan, then Dadarkar Patki, and then Jal Gobai, and so on and so forth. No, but all of them, for them I prepared a questionnaire, and they were supposed to answer the questions. On their own, they should write something on that. But Pilu Modi was an exception that he said that I will tell you to write, and you write, and then I will check up later on. Okay, so that was that time
Which
when I was
is,
excited.
I think, a very wonderful thing that Pilu Modi eventually became the pioneer of the architect's profession by framing the Architects Act in the Parliament of India. One question for you, Rishikesh. Incidentally, before that, I'll just like to ask you, since we have students of architecture here, what was the course like? I mean, architectural course.
Yeah, there was and is and will be always
The
a
first-
pioneering
first
institute
college
of
of
India.
architecture.
Yeah, that time there was no other college who was giving you a degree. In 1966 I joined, and 79 I passed out. And it was very difficult, not even 10% people would go through in 5 years. And most of the people will take about 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. I mean, if you get a first class, your name will be written on the board. That was the fashion that time. Okay, I mean, because the first class were very few, and I was admitted to that college. This is surprising. I never knew that there exists a course called architecture. We was at the College of Architecture, but there exists a course for architecture separate, which I never knew. Which a friend of my father, I think Sate, Mr. Sate, he told me that he is good at drawing, so he sent him to this.
that
And
used to
on
be the
my
case.
strength of my drawing only, I could get an admission there. Of course, I had a first class in 11th standard that time.
In fact, the joke during those times, if I remember, was that some people had mistakenly come for architecture because they wanted to go for agriculture, and they, and they had misspelled the book.
Okay. That's a good one.
What about you, Rishikesh? You had your beginnings of your architectural profession in Mumbai. Was it, as Apurva has just mentioned, was it some kind of a compulsion, or was it your own passion, or was it a tradition, of a family tradition that you wanted to continue? What was it that triggered you to go for architecture?
I was in a school called as Nan Prabodhini. And I think it used to be after classes and after school on every Saturday that I used to go tinker around in Dad's office. So, and I was like fascinated by computers at that time. And they used to have computers in the office. So I got kind of introduced to architecture through computers, even though it was a very initial stage of...
So went and played solitaire there?
CAD. No, not really solitaire. I think played with AutoCAD 3.2 or something.
Oh my God.
And then DOS and all the problems that we used to face with DOS as an operating system. So that was my introduction. In a way, I never really thought about architecture and being an architect otherwise. And then because I was doing that, it came to that there were two things that I wanted to pursue as a career. One, the other being really superly interested in physics as a subject. So then I had taken admission in Ferguson College and
was going there, religiously attending BSc physics classes. And then I got a call from Mumbai saying that, I have got admission because some people have shifted from academy to JJ. So by chance I got admission in Academy of Architecture, and then I really loved it. So I think Dad also always used to say to me that if you want to explore architecture, it should be in a city. Because even though we say architecture kind of has got the whole plethora and the whole umbrella of all kinds of buildings, but essentially we work in the urban environment. And being in Mumbai or in a city maybe like Delhi or something, so that really fascinated me at that time. So as a choice of between the two, I decided to pursue architecture.
And you were supported by father also.
No, not really him, his friend who was my local guardian in Mumbai, and probably not really supported because I used to do a lot of different kinds of things, and he instead of asking me to stop doing things, so he just used to let me do things, which was a good thing, but which was kind of support in a way.
He was JS, and he led the strike made by the academy to get a degree. And the
So
institute
you were
has
an
got degree.
activist right
Now
from
it's
the
attached
beginning.
to Bombay University.
Okay.
And
Lot many students.
And in our days, we fought for autonomy. The autonomy is coming now,
Oh.
after 50, 60 years.
Well, so far as architectural education is concerned, a lot many students today, there's a very growing trend of going abroad for higher studies. And you were amongst probably one of the early ones who, took that leap and went to UK, England for studies. What was your experience so far as architectural education in academy and as vis-a-vis what you learned in England?
I think it was fantastic. I mean, words fall short when you want to describe the experience of the whole course, and as well as exploring architecture in a city like London. Like I said, I mean, at that time again, I was fortunate to have met, our great Pritzker winning architect, Mr. Doshi. He actually, at that time, he was a visiting faculty at Harvard, I think. And he told me, but you should go to Architectural Association in London. So I ended up there. First couple of months were terrible because you get to know what is architectural education all about from scratch. Because as a part of my being an activist in Mumbai, Academy of Architecture, I found out that the architecture course over here in India was started as an architectural draftsman's course. Because, the designs used to come from the UK and so on and so forth, and we required a lot of people to draft it out. Anyway, I think it was almost like a shock treatment for the couple of months of what architectural education is, at especially the Architectural Association, which is kind of disturbing for many people at the beginning. But then later on, it was like Mr. Doshi promised me, it would be the best time of your life, best 1 year of your life. It did end up being that. I would definitely suggest it for anyone who wants to explore learning abroad. I'm pretty sure it is different in different geographies, different countries, different courses and different colleges. I would suggest pick the right city more than the course and the college, because the city teaches an architect a lot about architecture, or it gives the experience of architecture and architecture related issues. And that's the thing. I mean, one should definitely do it. I think there was a very interesting anecdote at that time which happened. So me and Baba had gone to meet B.V. Doshi sir, and B.V. Doshi sir for some reason did not really speak to me a lot. He spoke to my dad a lot. And so he asked my father, are you expecting him to come back? So in front of him, obviously he had to say, I think, no, I'm not. But maybe he was. And he did tell my father at that time. So what he will learn in the course at the AA or anywhere else in the world would be substantially way ahead of what is happening over here. And it is not necessary for one to think of it like something which is irrelevant. It can become relevant in the future. And it is up to you really how you apply it. In your career, where you are, whether you are back in India, in Pune, or again, you want to pursue your career somewhere else, or even in the city that you studied masters. But I would definitely recommend it. It was a wonderful experience, yes, life-changing.
I understand you had a good time in London too.
So this is another story, because his son Vikram used to be my roommate in London. So in a way, we are also family, and we still are very much close as friends. I mean, we definitely meet each other when we go to London or when Vikram comes over. So.
But Rishikesh, having come back and got into practice with Dad, how do you evaluate architectural practice in England vis-a-vis practice in India, with all kind of constraints and the politics and the the municipal authorities and all the issues? Since you work there, I'd like to have a comparison.
Architecture practice in UK is 5 times harder than in
Yes,
India.
how's that?
Life over here is very simple, easy I mean architecture life. So in the UK, a lot of it is to do with complying with standards and regulations, and a lot of speculation, which in our country. And especially, I mean, I say country, but majority of our work is still in Maharashtra. It is far easier to design something which we are fairly confident will get approval and can get built, having a substantial, let's say, fair amount of judgment on cost, time of construction and everything. In the UK, it is really, really difficult. I mean, if you can really imagine anything on any plot of land, and it is difficult to convince authorities for that project to go ahead. And even if you do get planning approval, which we used to call as planning permission, there were like huge amounts of compliances at so many different stages. So a project is really a project there, and a lot of technical work is there. But it's also nice in a way that once the project starts, you've got construction documentation set in such a way that it generally doesn't stop. That is one good thing over there. But it is difficult. I mean, even as architects, as students, if some of you are students here, and even practicing architects, we generally, once we start practicing, don't really retrain ourselves. Over there, even after completing a course and then going for ARB stage 1, stage 2, then you got to go for stage 3, after 3 years of practice and passing examinations, and then again continue to do continual professional development every year. In fact, like we file income tax returns or something, you file returns to the ARB as to what was your training calendar every year and so on. So it is kind of tough. I mean, as a profession, Zaha has that famous saying. So like, if you want to have a fun life, don't be an architect. So, but it is difficult. It is tough. Compared to India, it is far difficult.
So one question for you, Vishwas sir. You have been in practice for the last 50 years, and you started from a small office, slowly growing into a huge, massive practice that you are today. And you have contributed a lot to the development scene in Pune. And you have seen it change over a period of time from what it was to what it is today. Would you like to comment on the trend of development in Pune and the way it is going?
Certainly, I was about to say that when I started my practice, it was only me and my pune. I was drafting drawing by myself. I was taking out the print, ammonia print by myself. I was coloring myself and then going to corporation myself. And that was a cycle which I used to take on hire. For a month, I used to take on hire a cycle for 12 rupees a month. I remember that. So that kind of now you find the architects are, that way are better members of society. And that time we used to design buildings maximum up to G plus 2, G plus 3. Okay, G plus 3 was max. Beyond that, it was not sanctionable. And even in Gautam areas, it was very small buildings. And now you find G plus 3, nobody's building. Everybody is building G plus 20, 20, 30, 40. What is this? Now, I am a very strong critic of the unified DC rules. Presently came into existence. Now, what will happen if such buildings are constructed? What will happen to the entire country? I am really worried about that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, just imagine a building, say maybe 20, 30 feet away from each other, but having a 16 floor height. And such, all the buildings are erected. Now, I will give you a very live example of that. Now, Prabhat Road, Bandharkar Road area is taken as a very prime of Pune. Now, it has experienced Within last 5 years, there has been no increase in the area, no increase in the cost, only the decrease is there. Once upon a time, 5 years back, it was commanding a rate of 19,000 rupees a square foot. Today it is 14 and a half rupees a square foot. Why? Only because if I stay on that in that area, I cannot take away my car. I cannot take in my car. There is ample parking inside available. The parking is not deficient.
The roads are
But roads are not. The infrastructure is not inbuilt for that kind of an FSI. But that FSI is given for all the cities in Maharashtra. All the corporations have given unified DC rules are applied to. Now, what FSI you get here on Prabhat Road is also available in Barshi, because Barshi is a municipal corporation. Now, just imagine supposing Barshi also get developed with hundreds of such buildings, and with FSI 5 or 6. What will happen to this country? I say always comment on this bylaws, as this is a bomb planted today, will explode after 10 to 15 years. Nobody will understand what is happening today. The people will buy because they will buy because it's cheaper now. The rates are steady, and they will buy. But after having built it, after a lot of difficulty, they will find to build it. But supposing it is built, they will not like to stay in that. So they would like to sell that, and they will not get a price what they have bought for. This is going to happen to majority of construction. That is my fear.
Well, I think let's move from this little distressing topic to another topic which I would like to ask you.
Yeah.
Since you have been involved in education also, and he
yeah.
has been associated with the Brick School of Architecture for many years now. So, what's your take on the architectural
People
education?
always say that we architects are visiting lecturers or visiting professors. We go there to teach something. I go there to learn something. Because the budding architects, they teach me more. Because they are vibrant in their ideas. They have got no boundaries. So without boundaries, one can design. How can design? So I have designed many buildings without any boundaries. As a hobby to design good way.
So that's how you've been staying young.
No, you have to be young at heart, you have to be young to learn something. So I go to the college to learn something. Now what could not be sticking to my mind, the ideas come from the students also. But they also require to be trained in a way. So you have also required, so impart our knowledge to them. That's why I was going to that college.
One for you, Rishikesh. You have been involved in green building design, environment, energy, and all the aspects of architectural work, which were not there when Dad was in JJ School of Architecture, for that matter. But now these have become all of a sudden extremely important and extremely relevant. How do you see your practice now going beyond today, after 50 years, to the next 50 years, with all these aspects and issues about climate change becoming primary in architectural practice?
I think it is more of a choice than it dictating what we should do in the future. It is important that we choose to respond to these issues of climate change, environment, sustainability, and it was not as if we were not having those issues in when Dad was practicing. I mean, everybody had their own choices regarding environmental issues. Vernacular architecture teaches us a lot about being responsible or responsive to environmental parameters. And it was always a part of design and buildings and everything. I remember before air conditioners, and I think environment and energy related design has become more fashionable after air conditioners, but before air conditioners were very common. Even everybody used to change their clothing, kind of type as the season changed. Nowadays we generally don't. And again, most buildings are boxes with air conditioners, so we continue to work. Even things like siesta and all that is not practiced anymore. But in the future, I think it will be a matter of choice. It will not be something that by de facto or by default has to be dealt with by architects or professionals of the future. some people will make the choice to, passionately follow or immerse themselves in these issues. I think a lot of interesting things are coming up. So artificial intelligence, I'm pretty sure a lot of controversy, or let's say not, I wouldn't say controversy, but a lot of dialogue has been happening regarding that topic. We have been exploring that in the office for, I think, more than a year, and already applied to multiple projects. So multiple areas of, I think, exploration, research is what will drive architects of the future. And it will again be a matter of choice. I think one of the beautiful things about being a part of this profession, choosing architecture as a career, is always that you can do so many different things. When I went for my master's in 2002, by default it was assumed that somebody will have only one career in their life. I think 2015 onwards, students who come to discuss things with me, or even some professors that we discussed among ourselves, profession, we feel somebody who is graduating 5 years from today, or let's say even 2 years from today, probably will have minimum 2, if not 3 careers in individual, different, distinct careers in their life. So I think it is a matter of choice, and it will be the choices that one makes as an architect.
So
in the career.
multidisciplinary practices will be there.
I think everyone is multidisciplinary. I think we have been able to put some, alphabets against it, if you allow me to say that. But and we have probably maybe thought about it in a very systematic manner. But every practice is multidisciplinary. I think some people are very good at doing something, and then some people do all other things around it as well. So every practice is multidisciplinary. They don't state it like we do. And I think we built a very interesting structure around it, being blessed with, people like Anaga, Dr. Purva, Dvaipan, and seniors who were able to put a structure around it, and then push the structure to scale it up. But otherwise also, I'm pretty sure architectural professionals over here, they also do a lot of things which are not just part of one discipline.
But in that context, so far as green and environmental design is concerned, what's your take on the certifications like BREEAM or LEEDs or IGBC and things?
One should definitely...
Are they going to be mandatory? Are they going to be...
So certification will not be mandatory. Certification will always be voluntary. Compliance with the standard will slowly become mandatory. I will tell you the background behind it. It is not that it has become fashionable all of a sudden. We were signatory to the Kyoto Protocol, and then it became the Paris Accord, and so on and so forth. So there is a commitment as a country that we have given in reducing carbon emissions, and then these ways or these methods will eventually lead up to a sum, when it all adds up, in actually reducing carbon emissions. So when I was in the UK, I was a part of the EU EPBD, which is the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive. So it was like a carrot and stick approach. You go for BREEAM or you go for passive house, you certify your buildings, but you comply as a minimum with EU EPBD. And then it became something like, what we have in cars, for example, that it complies with the Euro 6 standard of emissions. And it has to, as a new car coming into the market, it has to comply with the standard. So those things will happen. That will become mandatory. ECBC hopefully in the future will become mandatory. But certification and ratings, like you are saying, is what you are actually meaning is ratings. Ratings will always remain voluntary. And so many more ratings will come. Again, you will be able to choose what you want to follow or pursue.
Well, I think we are running short of time now. But one last question to each one of you. Would you like to give, since we have a lot of budding young architects in the audience today, and of course many established professionals also. I would like to ask you one question, as what would be your message to the practicing architects, and I would like to ask you a question, what would be your message to the students?
First thing is that I am not competent enough to advise the
it's not advice.
But supposing I was to advise, I would say that do an ethical practice. One word, do an ethical in all sense, not only money, not only, but ethical in every sense.
Very good.
Whether you do architecture practice or anything, but be ethical.
Very important. Thank you.
So I think you have put me in a different position, because I'm still a work in progress,
No, but
as I call it.
as
But,
as the younger person.
so slightly younger person. I would tell students of architecture who want to pursue a career in architecture is that it is ultimately architecture as a career is an enabler. It is not, many a times it is presented as if it is one of the noblest of professions, that once you are an architect, that becomes your life. It is not that. I have not done it. My dad has definitely not done it. So architecture is a great enabler, but it enables you to have furthermore varied experiences in life. In our house, I mean, going back to what Apurva was saying as families, I haven't seen in our house, in the last 45 years of my existence, a single architectural magazine.
Oh my God.
Never. Even today, we have never ever subscribed to a single architectural magazine, a design magazine even. But because we share the passion of cars, we will probably have every magazine about cars in our house.
Wonderful, wonderful.
You know, so, and I think me and my dad speak to each other on a common topic of cars far more than architecture. So architecture, my suggestion and my small bit of kind of contribution would be that don't think of it as the be-all, end-all. It shouldn't encompass your life. It is a wonderful profession. You get to do something new every day. But, you know, there is life beyond it. And it should be considered as an enabler to do a lot more interesting things, you know. I was just going through a YouTube video yesterday of somebody who's, after COVID, spent 18 months driving around in his Mahindra Thar, living inside the Mahindra Thar, and visiting every forest reserve of the country, every biosphere of the country, visiting heritage, including architectural heritage of the country. For 18 months he did that. Got kidnapped twice by Naxalites. You know, so, and he's a developer. So it is, you know, there is life beyond career. And I think it is important to celebrate that, to take your time to, you know, experience and explore that. That is what I would say.
So I think you can conclude that that bond of a father and a son goes way beyond architecture, and it's gone into Bentleys and Maseratis.
The bond is definitely about cars. We don't really know about architecture. It's still a work in progress. But the bond is definitely about cars.
Well, thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Rishikesh. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We were live streaming this, and people were asking me, we want to comment on it. Why have you turned off the comments on the live streaming? Like, you want to ask questions, you tell me, I will convey. No, we want to applaud, they said. We don't want to ask questions. We wanted to applaud the practice. So, a round of applause one more time to both the Kulkarnis here. And I think at what I said at the start was 50 is just a start. There are many more years to come and many more things to do. And it's in the line. So, I formally invite Architect Sanjay Tasgaonkar, our Honorary Secretary AESA, to present a vote of thanks. And then we'll again gather here all the invitees for a group photograph, and also the volunteers, I'll request them later. One more reminder, there are books outside. I don't know if you could catch it, but they have a lot of unbuilt projects that the VK proposed but couldn't get execute because of obviously so many reasons. Don't let a project come into existence. So, but some wonderful designs with Rishi's initiative. They have come up with a publication called Unbuilt 0.1, which is an unbelievable book. It has a journey of projects that didn't see the light of the day, but some very well presented projects, including a project that was supposed to be on the MKSS's campus, but didn't come up due to obvious short of patronage maybe. But if you want to buy that book also, it's available outside. You can definitely have a see. And Apurva's book is obviously there. For others who have not been a part of regular of AESA events to attend, we have a take-away copy of our AESA 50 years celebration coffee table book with 25 years of AESA awards projects documented. The students could largely benefit from the book as well. So you can carry a free copy for yourself from outside while going. So Over to Tasgaonkar sir for a formal vote of thanks. Thank you.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, I think it was a very nice evening today. We all gathered here for supposedly two different kind of events, but having a common thread of inheritance. I would like to initially thank Architect Abhay Purohit. He had to leave early for some other commitments for gracing this occasion and for the launching of the book. And thanks Apurva for selecting Pune and AESA for the launch of your book. And I'm sure we'll all love to go through it in detail, though she did give the insights of what is there in the book as such. Then thanks to Vishwas sir and Rishikesh. The VK Group is in the 50th year of their architecture practice. In fact, I take pride to be a part of Vishwas Kulkarni Group way back 32 years, and I'm happy about it. Again, thanks to BNCA and Anurag sir for this wonderful venue. He has been forceful about, like what Mahesh said, he let many events happen in the BNCA auditorium. So thanks Anurag sir for this wonderful venue. I would also like to thank my colleagues in AESA, the EC members and the AESA office staff, and last but not the least, our group of volunteers who are here. And thanks a lot everybody for this. Last but not least, the team I, the new team, congratulations and thanks for being over here. Thanks.
I'll request the dignitaries to be on stage for a group photograph, and then later the audience to also join in. If